Asterisk, is it true that Jungkook cried a lot because of Jimin? What exactly happened during the live so that the fans were left speechless and shocked? Click, read to the end, and discover surprising secrets that have been hidden for so long. Don't forget to leave a comment, like, and subscribe so you don't miss another important moment. Asterisk, have you ever witnessed someone who is usually strong, smiling, and looking unshakable in front of the camera suddenly break down and cry violently without being able to control himself? If you're a fan of K-pop, especially BTS, then this question might feel like a deep emotional blow. But today, it's not just a question. It's a reality that shakes millions of armies around the world. What really happened between Jungkook and Jimin until Jungkook couldn't hold back tears in the middle of a live broadcast watched by millions of people in real time? Is this a sign of a rift in a brotherly relationship that so far seems perfect? Or is it an old wound that has just opened up? Tense. Hold on, because this is just the beginning. It should be a moment of happiness. A session scheduled to celebrate the success of BTS' latest mini-album that instantly topped the international charts. The members performed one by one, giving warm comments, reminiscing about difficult times, and giving hope to their fans. But the mood changes drastically when Jungkook appears on the screen. His eyes were blank, his smile stiff, and what was most striking, he was uncharacteristic. Even before he spoke, millions of onlookers had already started typing comments full of concern. Is Jungkook okay? Why does he look so tired? What's wrong with Jungkook? And when his first voice was heard, it was not a spirit that arose, but a hoarse voice and almost drowned in stifled sobs. In less than 2 minutes, the live atmosphere changed dramatically. This is no ordinary cry. It was not an actor's cry, nor was it a tired cry. It was the cry of someone who felt broken, and the public knew it firsthand. "I'm sorry. I just wanted to be honest tonight," Jungkook said in a trembling voice. "I've been holding this for too long. There's too much you don't know." The sentence struck the audience like thunder in broad daylight. Armies from various countries immediately flooded the comments column. The sudden broadcast was flooded with more than 12 million viewers in just 5 minutes. All want to know, what happened? And one name that Jungkook repeatedly called is Jimin. "Jimin and I, we've been through a lot," Jungkook said, wiping away his tears. "But the last few months, things are no longer what they used to be." Is this an official statement that Jungkook and Jimin's relationship is deteriorating? The two are known as the closest duo in the group, even nicknamed soulmates by fans for their emotional closeness and strong chemistry on and off stage. But it doesn't stop there. In a quiet but clear tone, Jungkook continued, "Several things happened. Makes me question a lot of things. I can't explain everything because it's not just about me, but I feel betrayed." Betrayed? The word shook everything, as if the monitor screen suddenly froze. Does this mean Jimin did something that made Jungkook feel so deeply cut? Comments poured in. Jungkook can't fight. Jungkook betrayed. What did Jimin do? However, before the speculation goes wild, Jungkook provides a deeper and more surprising context. "Last month, I knew something I should have known from the beginning, but I found out from someone else. And that, about his decision to go abroad without telling me. As it turns out, the conflict that has been tightly closed stems from Jimin's decision to undergo an intensive solo project abroad, without sufficient discussion with the members, especially Jungkook. I felt like I was abandoned," Jungkook continued. "We always trust each other. Always say, no matter what happens, we talk first as brothers. But back then, he didn't even pick up my phone." Jungkook's voice broke at the mention of the word brother. Thousands of viewers who watched the live began to cry with him. Some even reposted the clip on various social media, with Jungkook crying and Jungkook trending #1 in more than 23 countries. But the surprises did not stop there. Because while the live was going on, Jimin appeared in the comments. Yes, in the midst of tears, in that shocking confession, a comment from Jimin's official account appeared on the screen. "I'm sorry, I know I was wrong, but I want us to talk straight. I'm on my way home." Asterisk, that comment lit an even bigger fire. Fans flooded social media with emotional reactions. Some are angry at Jimin, some blame management for the lack of internal communication, others can only cry and say, "Please don't let BTS crack." Since then, various speculations have continued to grow. Korean and international media tried to confirm the truth of what happened, but Big Hit Music's agency only gave a brief statement. Asterisk, We are aware of the incident that occurred in the live broadcast yesterday. Currently, the members are in private communication. We ask for the understanding of all parties to make room for them. Asterisk a statement that sounds like a shield, but also an indirect recognition that there is indeed a storm inside the world's largest group. The days after that Liv felt like waiting for a bomb to go off. Fans await every notification, hoping there will be good news, or at least clarification. And finally, a week after that viral live broadcast, Jimin appeared in his own live session. With a face that was also full of emotion, he spoke slowly but firmly. I don't want to lose him. Never. But I also don't know how to take care of him while taking care of myself. Honest statement. It hurts. But at the same time, open wounds and the possibility of healing. That day, for the first time, the fans saw that even the strongest friendship can falter. Even two people who were considered to be true brothers can lose their way when the world around them is too noisy. But the most touching was the end of live Jimin. He looked at the camera, his eyes glazed over, and said, "If you've ever hurt someone you care about because you were too afraid to be honest, I understand you." And then, one unexpected thing happened. A notification appeared on Jimin's live screen. Jungkook has joined the live. Tension broke. The atmosphere was suddenly quiet. Thousands of comments stopped flowing for a few seconds, as if everyone was holding their breath, and the voice came. Taehyung. Jungkook appears on the split-screen screen. No music. No effect. Just two best friends who all this time were considered inseparable, sat in silence, looked at each other through the screen, and finally cried together. "I'm sorry," said Jimin. "Me too," replied Jungkook. That night, two tears became a lesson for millions of people around the world. That being an idol does not make one immune from emotional wounds. That being strong does not mean never crying. And that sometimes, one simple sentence can heal a wound that almost destroys a person. But after that moment of supposed emotional recovery, the storm has not really passed. A few days later, a snippet of Jungkook's live video that had not been shown to the public in full began to spread in the South Korean and international online communities. The video shows the initial seconds before the official broadcast begins, where Jungkook speaks to the staff in a clearly shaken voice, saying something sharper. "I'm tired of having to pretend everything is fine. I'm not a puppet." The statement immediately caused a strong reaction. The word doll became a new symbol of emotional resistance. Many fans judge that so far, the image of brotherhood between BTS members who always get along, warm, and harmonious, is only a thin layer that has been preserved for the needs of the industry. But is it true? Soon after, an online forum known for leaking on the internal issues of Korean entertainment began to be crowded with accusations of a much deeper conflict, that the tension between Jungkook and Jimin was not just because of the solo project's decision, but because of the difference in principles that had occurred over the past 2 years. Some have alleged that Jimin has long felt marginalized in the BTS spotlight due to Jungkook's steadily rising popularity. Jungkook is regarded as the golden boy, while Jimin must continue to struggle to prove his existence amid never-ending expectations. And behind the scenes, reportedly, the relationship between the two had time to completely freeze for more than 4 months without personal communication. On the other hand, some defended Jimin and accused Jungkook of being too selfish and perfectionist. One of the comments went viral. Jungkook wants everyone to read his mind, but he forgets that other people also have pressure. He's not the only one who's tired. More and more arguments are dividing BTS's own fandom. On Twitter, two opposing hashtags appeared, #ProtectJimin and #StandWithJungkook. Not a few big fanbase accounts are arguing with each other, accusing the other of spreading lies or distorting the meaning of the emotional live moment. The most shocking was the emergence of a leaked email from someone who claimed to be a former BTS management staff. In the email, it was stated that Jimin and Jungkook were separated several times in the promotion schedule due to personal tensions that affected the group dynamics. Furthermore, it was mentioned that one of the internal meetings even took place in a high tone that triggered crying from one of the other members. All of this then reinforces the suspicion that Jungkook's tears are not just a matter of one misunderstanding, but an explosion of pressure that has been suppressed for too long. Of course, the big hit agency does not stand still. They again released an official statement, this time in a louder tone. "We are aware of the spread of inaccurate information about BTS members. We are reviewing content that damages the reputation of our artists and will take legal action if necessary. However, This move actually made some fans feel even more suspicious. Why is their reaction so defensive? Why is there no direct clarification from the members, whereas before they were very open through social media? One of the things that bothers ARMY the most is the fact that since the live event, Jungkook and Jimin have not been seen together publicly. There are no joint uploads, no promotional videos of the two, not even in the latest workout photos. They always look far apart. Is this proof that the split really happened? The situation became even more heated when one of South Korea's top variety programs known to have close ties to K-pop idols published a leaked exclusive interview script that has yet to air. In the leak, it was mentioned that Jungkook had said, "I'm not sure I can work the same way again." A sentence that, if properly uttered, is very explosive and implies that the rupture of relations is not temporary, but has already touched the core of their professionalism. The reaction of the fans was very mixed. Some are heartbroken and can't imagine BTS without their iconic togetherness. Some are beginning to imagine a deeper split scenario. Is this the beginning of a slow dissolution? But in the midst of all that excitement, there was one other video that suddenly went viral. The video features Jungkook in a private studio, singing a previously unreleased ballad. The lyrics are very personal, with words like, "We are going in the same direction, but our hearts are no longer united. I miss you when you were my friend, not a shadow on the same stage." The fans immediately speculated that the song was Jungkook's outpouring of heart for Jimin, an open letter in the form of music, which describes a deep sense of loss. And as one brave fan asked in a short live on Weverse, "Is that song about Jimin?" Jungkook did not argue. He just looked at the old camera, sighed, and said quietly, "You already know the answer." Does this mean that they have lost each other and will not return to the way they were? Question after question arises. Comments from the public began to cease to be of a pitiful nature, but turned into analysis and even accusations. There are those who bring up the old times when Jimin was seen dodging when Jungkook was too close. Others attribute this to the pressure of the Korean entertainment industry, which often creates false images to sell the group's products. While internal conflicts are swept under the carpet, one thing is for sure. The confidence of the fans has been shaken. BTS is no longer just a music group. They are a symbol of the camaraderie, strength, and sincerity that the narrative of emotional tension that is increasingly difficult to hide puts at stake. Will it be a deep and persistent wound? Or were they able to turn the tide and prove that even the deepest wounds can heal? We don't know. But we wait. And you who are reading this, what do you think? Do you think there is something hidden by the management? Is this just a strategy to attract attention? Or is it an emotional conflict that really breaks out in front of the public? And as the public begins to wonder if all this is just an internal drama that just happens to be on camera, or there is something more systemic, darker, and more entrapment behind an industry touted as the perfect human factory, an old video is again sticking out, burning barely extinguished embers. The video is not from this year, not from last year, but rather from the early years of BTS being formed when they were still considered the onion boys of the K-pop world. In the video, it is very clearly seen how Jungkook once bowed his head in a loud training session, with the coach's voice sounding cursing, and one figure, Jimin, silently in the corner of the room, staring speechless. There was no physical violence, but the atmosphere of the video was suffocating, tense. And then, a snippet of the video was subtitled by a fan who translated the conversation in the room, including one sharp sentence allegedly uttered by their old manager: "If you want to be successful, give up your affection, be professionals." Not spoiled children. Is that the root of their problems? Is BTS, like many other groups, from the very beginning educated to suppress personal feelings in order to maintain the perfect image loved by millions of people? The question was sharpened when fans began digging through old interviews and realized that some of Jimin's statements about pressure as an idol looked very contrary to the happy-go-lucky image that had been promoted. One of the clips that went viral showed Jimin saying, "I sometimes don't know who I am when I'm not performing," a phrase that once sounded philosophical, but now feels creepy, especially when it comes to allegations that the conflict between himself and Jungkook is the result of an identity crisis and an unbalanced popularity load. In the midst of this confusion, a rumor began to circulate in the underground K-pop community that Jimin's previously undisclosed solo project was actually a silent protest against Jungkook's internal dominance in BTS's current map, that Jimin was tired of being perceived only as a visual accompaniment, and decided to prove that he could shine without having to be in Jungkook's orbit. And these rumors do not stand alone. 4. There is another, more daring and dangerous allegation that their rift was deliberately kept silent by management for more than a year, because they were designing the future of the group as an entity that parted in togetherness. It means the members are kept looking solid, when in fact they don't trust each other anymore. This theory began to be believed when fans realized the increasingly sparse and rigid interaction patterns between several members, not just Jimin and Jungkook. What have we been watching? True friendship? Or marketing products that are curated to look human? The situation gets even wilder when an anonymous account claiming to be a former trainee at a large agency leaks that conflicts like this are not new. In fact, they are often allowed or even used by agencies to cause controversy and spark media attention. In fact, he said, idle tears are not just genuine tears, but are sometimes chosen to be displayed in order to form a narrative that can be sold. These words are jerking. If true, then Jungkook's crying, which has been considered the most honest moment in BTS history, could be part of a grand strategy drawn out by the management. But can we trust that theory? Or is it just the result of the imagination of people who are too obsessed with finding meaning behind every gesture and gaze? On the other hand, the fans loyal to Jungkook began to move aggressively. They demanded that Jimin apologize publicly, not just in the comments. They were filled with hate speech, and some of them were violent. The hashtag Jimin apologize instantly rose to #1 trending globally, not as a joke, but as the anger of the masses who felt betrayed. What was once a personal relationship has now become a battlefield of public opinion. But what was even more surprising was Jimin's silence after all that. There were no clarifications, no new uploads. Even the live schedule that his agency promised was canceled without explanation. Many fans began to worry. Is he under heavy pressure? Or is it being hidden so as not to aggravate the situation?